Hello, my name's John Dray, and today I'm going to talk to you about what is a CRM and how best to choose one. Now, the only acronym I'm going to use in this entire talk is Customer Relationship Database, so sit back and relax. I find it useful to remember this adage when I'm thinking about picking a CRM. To a man with a new hammer, everything looks like a nail. What this is saying is if you start with picking a CRM solution off the shelf and then seeing how that will fit to your business, you've started from the wrong end because you're trying to automate absolutely everything in your business. That's probably not the best place to start because you can even automate making coffee from your CRM. We've worked out how to do that. Probably not a good business case, and so don't start from that end. Before thinking about CRMs, think about this. What is the purpose of your business? Now, one of the books I found very helpful on this is Michael Gerber's E-Myth Discovery. Now, the first version was written in 1986, long before there are any CRM systems around, well, computerized ones. And you'll find that giving your customers and your employees systemized, reliable service will greatly improve the experience of your company. It'll encourage you to have happy customers. And while you may think that you're the value in your business, when you come to sell it on, you won't want to be in the business. So thinking about the systems, those are what builds value in your company, makes it easier to sell on for a higher price. And as you consider a CRM system, you should keep focused on this because a well-implemented CRM system is something that helps you run your business better. It helps you build those processes. And this is what Michael Gerber says. The system isn't something you bring to the business, it's something you derive from the process of building the business. So once you've got those processes built in place, then that is your business. And in his lovely book, which is short, which is something I appreciate, and full of insight, in fact, I think you'll find many business gurus have heavily borrowed from his work. He talks about what made for a great hotel experience and walks through a woman who's trying to recreate her pie making business so she both enjoys it and it offers great customer service. And a well implemented CRM is something that enables those systems because what it does is it allows repeated, systemized things to go in your business, whether that's communication with your customers, communication between your team members, about giving people access to the right information when they need it, and that can be your customers or your internal teams. And so I'm going to go through a few ways in which people use their CRM systems. I will give you later on a bit of a glimpse of a CRM system, but I'm going to give you just a few micro case studies. Now for me, I use it for keeping track of my customer details and who I deal with at each charity because predominantly my customers are charities. And so I use it for project management so I can set out all the steps within a project with milestones and actions and who's responsible for each one. And for timekeeping so I can see how long I or other people have spent, whether that's billable, non-billable time, and it will then automatically generate bills. And I can track communications with the customers so that I can see that people have actually been keeping customers up to date. I can track information from customers. And if any of you have ever dealt with email systems, you'll know that things go down little rabbit holes where if you're helping your CRM system to manage that, it means that you can look at each project and you can see the communications related to that. Makes life so much easier. Now I have one client who uses it for keeping track of their volunteers, getting them to fill in timesheets, reporting how long each volunteer has worked on each project, and this is important, remembering to congratulate them when they do well. because that's one of those things that's so easily overlooked. And you can do it so that if they've done 3 hours in the month, you can say, oh, thank you, and that could be an automated email. Or you could do it if they've done 100 hours in the month, which is quite a lot, then you might sort of remember to send them a special trophy or a personalised letter. But it's building those systems into your business so that no one feels overlooked, no one feels unvalued. Another of my clients uses it for keeping track of grant applications, which is a bit like a sales pipeline, which is the traditional role of Salesforce, which is the CRM I use. It can report on which rep is doing best, who's getting the most grants or sales. It can forecast sales so that how much business you've got coming isn't a surprise, but something you can plan for. Oh, we haven't got enough forecast business, therefore we need to spend a bit more time getting our sales and marketing team to bring it in. Or, oh, we've got more than capacity, perhaps we need to change our strategy or up our prices. And perhaps our reps have to offer discounts, and they can offer a discount of 10% on their own. Perhaps for 20% they need to check with their managers, or 40% they need to check with their managers' managers. And those processes can take ages, whereas with a proper CRM, you get those approval processes going straight to the right people, and once they've approved them, it comes straight back. So rather than taking days, it can be done in seconds. And of course, thanking donors. So perhaps you get sort of an automated email for thank you for that £1. Perhaps if you've given £1,000 or £10,000, you'd expect to get a letter from the director of the charity or something. And so that's what enables that. A different client, they're keeping track of appointments for their children. And so the CRM securely stores the data. It uses special sort of Dropbox type functionalities and thereby processes the data very securely. When they need the reports about which charities funded which load of treatment, rather than taking days as it used to, they can actually get that all sorted in, well, a few minutes. So they're saving tons of money on really tedious jobs. They're getting something out of the CRM system. It's always really important to think, what we're going to get out? How's it going to contribute both to staff, running of the company? What sort of reporting am I going to get out of it? And so it should be the single source of truth, ideally. I mean, we're talking about ideals here. So a customer rings up, rather than asking them what they're ringing about, how much better if you can see that your colleague Fred was recently asking them, say, about car insurance. Stops you having to shout across to Fred about, what do they want? Stops the customers having to repeat themselves, because that's awful, isn't it? Oh, I need to sort of check what were you up to. Oh, I'm really sorry, the person who deals with that's only in on Tuesdays between 1 and 2. Or the leave there is. You can deal with them simply and professionally. You can see that they've been a customer for 10 years, so qualify for special discounts. Rather than the customer getting different discounts depending on whether the sales rep remembers them or not, which is always terrible. Oh yeah, I spoke to Jim. Jim knows about my account. Yeah, Jim knows I get 10% off. Oh, sorry, Jim left last week. Whereas if it's in the CRM system, then it continues despite staff absences, talking to a different person. Or, if you like, you can even have it so it routes calls through to the same rep each time, if possible, so that people get that feeling that they're dealing with a small business rather than a huge corporation. So here's a bit of a look around the system. And so if you look on here, you see we've got several things. So we've got all this menu across the top, and that's accounts, so that's the businesses you're dealing with. Contacts, who you're dealing with in those businesses, because it might be that for finance you talk to one person, or you might have several different projects going on with the same business and you need to know who to talk to about which project. And so the contacts lets you keep track of all that. And here's a typical contact record. And then down the right hand side you can see various communications have gone on. And very easily you can book new meetings. You can send out all the Zoom links, book it in the calendar of yourself, and send invitations to the other people, all in just a few seconds rather than all those tedious things. So it takes away a lot of the tedium of the business. That's the biggest thing. But you can also track things like leads, campaigns if you're doing mass email outs, or you want to track who's been to which conference. And you should also check to see whether your CRM solution easily links into the systems that you need. So perhaps you might do event planning, so you might want it to link in something like Eventbrite. You might need it to have good teeth into your accounting package. You may wish to have the accounting package within your CRM. Those are all things to think about. What do you need to link to? And it's part of the reason that's important is if those link systems don't exist, then either you're going to end up with two sources of truth, in which case neither of them's the truth because no one keeps things in 100% sync, or you're going to have to write a bespoke synchronization option, and that is expensive, very expensive. Doesn't mean you don't necessarily want to go there, but it is very expensive. So the worst reasons for choosing a CRM are that it's free or based on the number of features. Going back to that idea about hammers, do you remember that bit right at the beginning? If you're asking, what are the capabilities of X CRM system and Y CRM system? Oh, and this one's got 30 features, but that's only got 20 features. Oh, so therefore I've got to pick the one with 30 features just in case. But it might be that CRM-Y better fits your use case. It might be that CRM-Y has a better long-term development plan. So think about all those things, because if one of those features is that it makes my coffee, well, that's great. But what about if some of your colleagues like tea? No, sorry, that's the flippant version. Is that a good business case within your business? That's what you've got to keep laser focused on. And the CRM I use is free for charities, but that's a really bad reason to choose it. The reason you should choose it is thinking about lots of other things like what's the support network like? How many other people in similar organisations are using it? Lots of things that will affect your business and your support. Now, moving to CRM, this is the bad news. It is a rocky road. And the reason it's a rocky road is it will require change. And you'll often find that members of staff would prefer to do a 20-step process using 4 spreadsheets that they're familiar with and just is mind-bending for anyone else, rather than the 1-step process on the new CRM system. So you've got to think about, how do we manage that change? What are those people going to get out of the new system they don't get out of the old system that's going to convince them that they need to move over to the new system? And it'll also require looking very deeply at how your business runs. And I liken that to the naked feeling of when you take your accounts to your accountant. I know some people take bags of receipts, but there's always that sense that, oh, what have I done wrong? Or if you go to the doctors and you've got a pimple somewhere slightly embarrassing that you want to show the doctor. Now, the doctor's seen it all. But it's the same with CRM consultants. We've seen it all. Just talk to us. And as you talk to us, we might say, well, I know you're thinking about that one, but if you go for this one, not only is it cheaper, not only has it got better reputation, but it actually really fits your business case. Or we might say, actually, this slightly more expensive one will be there with you for the long term, and it will save you much more money, because CRM systems can save you tons of money in your business just because you're not making those mistakes. You're not having to refund customers. You're offering them a better experience. You're able to deal with more customers. I know CRM system in mine allows me to deal with probably 2 or 3 times the number of customers that I could deal with otherwise. So it's worth bearing those sorts of things in mind. You will, with a good implementation, become more efficient and work become more enjoyable because you end up doing the things you like rather than all that tedious bookkeeping, unless that's the thing you enjoy, of course. So considerations. What sort of support is there. Now, you might see a great CRM system, but it might not be around in 2 years' time. Moving CRMs is a rocky road. It does require a lot of change. You do not want to do it every 2 years. What's their roadmap? How are they going to develop their system? What funding's behind them? What sort of market share do they have? What training resources are there? Are there lots of freely available things that allow you to take stuff in bite-sized chunks and see how your members of staff are progressing so that everyone's up to date, not only with the latest features, but they're also aware of the core functionality, because that will save you tons of money and time in support calls. And you're building the skills of your business. And that's always a good thing, because that's part of making your staff feel valued. What's the longevity? How long has this product been around? Did it come out 2 minutes ago? Will it grow with you? I mean, there are some CRM systems which are great up until you've got 5 members of staff, and then you hit a hard limit. Whereas there are other CRM systems that work well for one-person operations, and they're also used by huge corporations like Coca-Cola, Texaco. And so you know that however big your business gets, they're going to go along on that journey with you. What's the data security? People's personal data has to remain private under huge penalties these days, which is right, because we all need some privacy in this world where privacy seems to be given away cheaply. So what are the data security principles? How do you log in? Where's the data stored? How's the data stored? Is it stored to payment card industry standards or medical record standards? Or do they just like to keep that quiet? It's a vital consideration, and although I've put it at the bottom here, it should probably be one of your first considerations. And what is the cost? Carefully weigh up the benefits versus the costs, because this is going to make your business or your charity run better if it's done well. So if it costs you £10,000 but only makes you 5,000, well, that's a loss of 5,000. Why would anyone do that? But if it's going to cost you £20,000, which is a lot more, but it's either going to save or make you an extra £100,000, well, you'd be silly not to, wouldn't you? I mean, if you're spending £20,000 and it's going to make you 25, you'd still be silly not to do it, because that's an extra 5,000 in the kitty. And particularly for my business, because I work with charities. Now, if you get a CRM system that's aimed just at charities, then where's the development budget coming for that product? Is it just coming from charities? Because if it is, that product's not going to be developed, because charities don't have a lot of money for subscriptions. Where if it's part of a much larger business, and consequently the charity part gets as much investment as the rest of it, then you're on a much more solid footing, because the development budget for the product will be huge. And believe me, software development does take a lot of money. Now, as I've said, I work with Salesforce, and Salesforce has charity-specific communities all over the world, which are just absolutely excited admins who just know all about the charity features within Salesforce and can give you support. You can go along to them. They have this sort of sense of family, which they call Ohana, and you can find out what they use it for, what their experience is, find out from them. And there are also many technical wizards who can really help out at those meetings. So it's well worth going along to one of those. Now, I mentioned that rocky road. This is all about change. And change is difficult if not managed well. So the CRM implementation, the technical side, yes, that is important. You must get the right people in. But the biggest thing within your organisation will be the culture change to using the new system. How are you going to support that? Are you going to make changes to your staff handbook, to employment contracts? Because for something that is fundamental to your business, if you find some people aren't using it, then that's useless. I went in to do one CRM implementation and found out that one of the members of staff had not been doing any work because they didn't know how to use the old system. In fact, the other sales reps were putting in data on behalf of that person, so giving away some of their money just to hide this fact. So because they hadn't sort of adapted the culture of change onto the old system even, then people weren't using it. And so that was one whole person that was completely wasting their time every day. And where will you be in 5 or 10 years with your CRM system? Because it's not a quick fling. And right at the beginning, we thought about the systems that we're going to be using within your business. Well, if this is the thing that's you're selling on, how does that process happen? Think about all those sorts of things. And like any long-term relationship, are you willing to put in the effort to keep the relationship alive? Now, if that's been helpful to you and you want some help along the journey, then I'm available. That's my website on there. But anyway, I just hope this has been useful to you. And hope your CRM journey, although it's a rocky road, is as smooth as possible, because you can get some absolutely amazing benefits to your business out of it. And I hope that you'll discover those. Thank you very much.